in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What's a pity? Tomorrow never certain. What was behind the curtain? The face of evil's lurking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble from LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make me get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run. Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Today we are talking about purpose. Purpose, purpose, purpose. Can you hear me okay, Dr. Thunder?
I can.
Nice, nice, nice. Nice audio. Nice audio you got going there, sir.
All right. So apparently we solved the other issue.
Excellent, excellent. Apparently, indeed. How is everyone doing tonight in the chat? I see in there Wallace representing, holding it down. Complex Design in the house. Aaron B in the house. Shout out to one and all. We are very, very familiar with the phrase, be on your purpose. Shout out to AMS, right? He is
shout out to him.
Tagged in this video after all. And yeah, that's why. So be on your purpose, be on your purpose. And people, it becomes a shorthand to just kind of, it's like the icing on the cake of whatever you said. X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Be on your purpose. Okay. But what, why, and especially how? Because this is getting ish done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. So how, what are you talking about? And how do I go about getting this? Any initial thoughts with regards to the whole idea of what are people saying when they say be on your purpose? Purpose means many things. In this particular framework, they're saying something in particular, right? Be on your purpose. What is that supposed to mean, sir?
Yeah, meaning is derived from purpose, right? So if you're doing what you've been designed to do, then you will have a deep sense of meaning, right? So the purpose thing I think people are talking about is this sort of unique thing that only they can do. Only they can do the way that they can do it. The thing that you're going to get a sense of fulfillment from, but something that you can use to pay your bills, to take care of your family, to build a kingdom like King Ike is doing.
So that is interesting, okay? There is this idea that with this thing that you are presumably passionate about, but also good at, you're going to also monetize it and sail into the sunset or into the moon or whatever. And that if this thing becomes a fix for your problems, you're a simp, don't worry about it, stay on your purpose. Can't get a girl, don't worry about it, stay on your purpose, right? So now it becomes this thing that gets thrown around. Now we know there's something there, okay? We know there's something there, and you touched upon it. You already touched upon the idea of, and let me just remind ourselves of a particular conversation we had before. We had a conversation on why you should stand for something, right? And the conversation on why you should stand for something we talked about why having borders around you, a system of values, not being on the fence, if you will, right, helps you, because sitting on the fence is losing opportunity cost. Sitting on the fence is losing focus. Sitting on the fence is not having good branding, good uniqueness and identity, and so on and so on and so forth. All those other kinds of things about having an identity versus not having a solid line, and so on and so forth. So purpose goes hand in hand with that too, in the sense that, well, the idea first and foremost that people are saying when they say be on your purpose is to focus, right? That, it's better if they were to say, well, focus, young man, or something like that. But when they say be on your purpose, they take 5 steps ahead. Now they're in the mountaintop talking purpose talk, right? Like some kind of like find your calling, like, oh, is that, you got to brush our teeth first, right? So, let me play a video, okay, from Scott Adams, okay. But let me ask you a question first, okay. Let's say I don't follow that thing you said I'm going to be good at and also passionate about, and that's going to lead me to my highest riches or whatever and fulfillment. In other words, is there that one thing, and if I don't do that thing, it's going to be all, what is the landscape here? Is there some kind of metaphysical reality to your purpose? And if you don't find the one, is it like a soulmate?
Yeah. So actually, I think it's exactly like a soulmate.
Damn, this guy. Okay.
Okay. So, in the misconception of what that is. So, there's a show on Netflix called The One. And although they didn't kind of go, they got started in a direction that I thought was very interesting, but they kind of went all off into this sort of science and sci-fi sort of a direction with it, as opposed to sort of pondering this whole question about, is there actually a one person for each person, and can you actually be totally miss the mark by choosing somebody that was not the one person that you were supposed to be with, And of course, implied in that whole thing is, say for instance, if your one person is married with children with someone else, if there was only one person. So I do think, however,
well, if you're a real man like King David, you'll get that man killed, and you get your one person. Come on, man. Why are you simping? Be a real man.
But I think what happens is, I think that one person may change depending on what the circumstances are. So in the same way, I think that when we're talking about purpose, meaning and purpose and all of that. So, is there a perfect will? Is there a perfect will of God for you? Well, yes. I don't know how much God is interested in micromanaging our color decisions, or I think sometimes maybe things are put in front of us because he wants to see what we will choose. And there may or may not be one that is clearly the right one and one is clearly the wrong one. It may actually be more of a gray area kind of topic. Now, obviously, there are clearly things that are white and black, but I also think that there's a lot of gray. So the implications on being on your purpose, so you could have a particular kind of skill set that could expand your opportunities, that could make you literally able to do all kinds of different kinds of things. And as you have those opportunities, is there a one that is supposed to be the one? Oh, that's really the one? Or is it kind of like you make the best out of whatever the situation is? And so it's,
you take the scenic route, or you take the other route. Still kind of like your GPS analogy too. It's like, maybe if you didn't take this particular path, or you didn't take that particular one opportunity. If you chose to play with this band as opposed to that band, tour with this guy as opposed to that guy at that time,
You might just be taking a scenic route versus a more direct route, that kind of a thing. And who's to say the scenic route is the wrong route to take?
Right. And understand there's the, we're not making the Brittany Renner argument where we say that, um, regret, like if I regretted anything, then, how could I, if you regret things, then the things that you learned, you're also giving those things up, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's we're going to get pragmatic here in a second because I think that what we just did so far was kind of sweep the floor regarding this particular concept, this idea of getting your purpose vis-a-vis this thing, because it's about motivation, it's about focusing somebody to go somewhere. Where's that place they're going? I'm going to pick up some of the things that we said. I'm hearing that echo again, by the way. I'm not sure why, but pick up some of the things that we said. This person that you're trying to be, that is on this purpose, has a lot of energy, a lot of zeal for what they do, okay? And they're good at what they do, okay? And they kill it, right? And they're making a lot of money from what they do, right? And I don't know, think Donald Draper, or if you're a bit on the dark side, or some other lighter examples, right? Someone who is good at what they're doing, has a passion for it, and it's a lucrative thing, right? That is the kind of picture that we have of the outcome, okay? Now, there is an issue when we come to the pragmatic situation of, well, then, is it the fact that what are we looking for? In other words, are we looking for peace? Or are we looking for money? Okay. Are we looking for, I want to feel like I'm doing my passion, or are we just looking for success? And I want to be on the billboard, regardless of whether it was the comic book I wanted to draw and become famous for, or it was just the comic book that the market wanted. In other words, okay, not everyone is on the same mission here on this be on your purpose thing, right? And I would like to get pragmatic as to, well, let's just take the things that we can all agree on and let's call it success. if you get what I'm saying, right? Because a lot of people, there's other things about, let's say, the passion and the purpose and the one thing that you should be doing and so on and so forth. And we'll talk about those, but on the pragmatic end, let's call it success. And let me play something from Alpha Male Strategies where he's talking about, hey, the way to go about it is to monetize your hobbies. Let's start from that basic idea of people telling you that passion is the way to success, right? And passion is definitely adjacent to purpose, right? So the whole idea of people telling you passion is the way to your success, Alpha Male Strategies. And let me see here. 21. How can I memorize how to find the purpose? Share. And let's go. Fair use.
All right, fellas. So, guys been asking me for a long time on how to find your purpose or whatever. Well, here's the thing, guys, with purpose, right? This is what I need you to ask yourself about your purpose and what you want to do. I need you to pretty much find whatever your hobby is, what you love to do, and figure out how to monetize that. All right? So whatever you love to do, whatever your hobby is, so when you get off work, all right, what do you love to do? Do you love to play video games? Do you love to go shoot basketball? I don't know what you love to do. Whatever you do as your hobby, that what your purpose need to be, because you're going to be passionate about it because you love it. All right? Now we need to figure out how we going to monetize it. So basically all your purpose is monetizing your hobby. That's pretty much all.
All right. So he's going the route of, you ask a billionaire, hey, what is the secret to success? Because again, success is not what we're now using as a proxy of that target. And I think so far we're all on track, right? What's the secret to success? And they say, hey, follow your passion, right? And he's saying, hey, it's by monetizing your hobby. And a lot of these hobbies, like, they tend to be like artsy things. Let me not call it artsy things, but our hobbies tend to be things on the creative end of things. Maybe your hobby is music. Maybe your hobby is painting. Maybe your hobby is singing. Maybe your hobby is baseball. arts, entertainment, creativity. Maybe your hobby is coding, and now anyways, that idea that the way to not have to work a day in your life, right, is to love what you do and then to be passionate at what you do is one thing that I keep saying I'm going to challenge soon. Okay. But I made a video uh, a few months ago about monetizing your art. And I actually haven't rewatched that. And I have no idea what I was saying or what I said in that video. So let's see, because in the beginning I kind of broke it down. I gave a list. So let's see if I made any sense here regarding, and then you can kind of critique it, Dr. Thunder, because I think I used the music example regarding, well, share if I'm making any sense whatsoever. So monetizing. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. And this is a quick intro to a clip I would like to share with you from an interview that I did with New Game Productions. New Game Productions is a producer and sound engineer extraordinaire. Okay, so he mixes and masters sound, plus he's also a producer and maker of beats, what have you. And what I would like to emphasize from this clip, what this clip teaches us, is how to monetize our creative endeavors. How to monetize our creative endeavors. And this applies to other endeavors as well, but creative endeavors are notoriously difficult to monetize. And now the three things I would like to emphasize from this clip can be encapsulated with the phrase full spectrum dominance. Full spectrum dominance. Number one, the full spectrum of tasks, from the simplest to the most difficult. You want to have competency in that full spectrum in whatever your endeavor is. So in your case in point, don't just be a beat maker, be a producer and a sound engineer. Sound engineering entails mixing and mastering, okay? Mixing and mastering has a high level of demand, but not a lot of supply. A high level of demand, but not a lot of supply, because it is difficult. So you want to do the things that are hard to do. Number two, you want to cover the full spectrum of genres. You want to learn how to make music for movies. You want to learn not just, maybe you're a hip hop head, but not just hip hop music. Make trap music, dancehall music, reggae music, dubstep music, country music. Learn it all. There will be cross-pollination in terms of your competency, okay? So learning how to master and mix reggae music, for example, may help with your competency in hip-hop. Also, you never quite know, since we're talking about monetization, you never quite know where you're gonna get the big clients from. And all money is good money when it comes to monetizing your creative endeavors, okay? So that's number two. Now, number three has to do with marketing. So basically, number three has to do with marketing. Now you want to dominate the full spectrum when it comes to all the means and methods of marketing yourself. Basically meaning all the media. Got it. So, Dr. Thunder, full spectrum dominance. You want to be able to do the simple things to the hard things in whatever it is you're doing. You want to also be flexible genre-wise, and you want to be everywhere marketing-wise when it comes to, hey, I'm going to follow my passion. Okay, so if you want to take that route, which is a tough route to go, these are some tips there. What would you have to say? Anything to add, critique, so on and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I frequently tell my students is, there are sort of, you want to have multiple streams of income. And in order to have multiple streams of income, you need to be able to do multiple things within the music industry. So the three things in particular that I focus on are performing, teaching, and composing. So these days, composing would equal any kind of computer-based recording, any kind of editing. You could be editing music for a dance company or something. They need you to add something to music, or they need you to cut something out of a recording. So that kind of thing. Performing, of course, is going to be any kind of, and I'm, professor of jazz saxophone at the institution I work at. And so mostly I'm working with saxophone players. Um, but, and with that, I tell them, if you play saxophone, that means you play flute and clarinet also, because if you want to be able to play musicals, if you want to be able to play in big bands, you know, the students that, uh, come and they don't have as good of a reading skills, I really get on them about getting their reading together, because neither one of those two gigs I just said, musicals and playing in big bands, musicals can be super lucrative. I've done a bunch of musicals. I played uh, Cinderella, Oliver, My Favorite Year. Let's see here, Evita. I played what's the name of that? Carole King musical. I played the Motown musical. And if I didn't have the capability of playing those other instruments,
All right.
yeah, if I didn't have the capability of playing those other instruments, then I'd be, I wouldn't have been able to take those gigs. So yeah, so multiple streams of incomes, multiple capabilities, so that you can maximize your opportunity. You don't want to have to tell somebody no. Like they say, hey, can you do this particular kind of, kind of service for me? Can you write this kind of chart? Can you write for marching band? Can you write for, I don't know, my church wants to bring in an orchestra and wants to do praise and worship music, but with an orchestra. Is that something that you can do? Hey, I want a horn section, but I don't know where to find the players. Is that something that you can put together for me? All of that kind of stuff is, that's like regular stuff, but you might have to say no if you don't have the kind of skill set that would accommodate that. And that, and when you're talking about being on your purpose, pursuing your purpose, figuring out what your purpose is, all of that kind of stuff, all of the stuff that I just said can be gateways towards discovering what your purpose is. Sometimes part of this is just about experimenting. The whole the old saying about throwing spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. Some of it you don't necessarily know what you're doing, and you have to experiment to sort of figure it out. One thing I tell folks frequently is this analogy I use about the steering wheel in a car. The steering wheel in a car is quite powerful. It's a quite powerful tool. However, it is of no value if you're sitting still. It only is of value when the car is moving. So when you've actually gathered some momentum, and mind you, the momentum can be precisely in the opposite direction that you should be going in. But the steering wheel can get you going into the right direction, but you have to start moving. You have to start, pursuing something. Sometimes the term passion is misunderstood. Passion is misunderstood. We're talking about pursuing your passion. We're talking about passions and things. So in one sense, the Bible just says that, because when we talk about passion, we're talking about following your heart, right? This kind of thing. So following your heart, the Bible says that your heart is wicked and deceitful above all. Who can know it? And it goes on to say that he who trusts their heart or trusts in the heart is a fool. Right? Now, obviously, that's not exactly the kind of follow your heart that we're mentioning. When we say follow your heart, we're talking about something deeper than that. Sometimes people believe that unless they're in a constant state of titillation, in euphoria, that somehow that they're not in their purpose. And I'll tell you, there's a difference between enjoyment and happiness. Enjoyment, the base of that word is the word joy, right? joy unspeakable and full of glory, right? So joy, the word there, that's something that you can't be knocked off of that. You could have several weeks and months of unhappy times, but still have joy, right? Joy is, a way to express joy is, so say, I don't always like going to the gym. Most of the time I don't want to want to go, but I also like the results. So I endure the torment and the tumult, as it were, of the gym, because I know that on the other side there's going to be something that I'm going to like, right? And so that process, I can enjoy the process. I don't have to like it, and I don't have to be happy about it. And there's certainly, I'm not euphoric in, constant state of titillation when I'm at the gym, sweating and, and in pain and stuff. So it takes something more profound, something deeper, some to cause you to be willing to do that. I know I talked for a long time, but yes.
Yeah, let me see what you said there, because we started out with this basic idea of what to do to monetize your hobbies, if you will. Shout out to AMS, that's what he said. Monetize your hobbies, that's the way to go. And we understand that particular route, right? You ask the billionaire, he says, follow your passion. That's the same thing that we're saying. Okay, we say, that's just that's one way, and perhaps maybe not even a very reliable way, according to me anyways. I don't like this whole passion thing, by the way. And I'm not big on the Go ahead.
Me neither. But,
okay.
Yeah,
I'm not big on the passion thing. And the purpose thing, I'm also kind of quiet about. I'm quiet about most things I cannot be definitive of. And these things that are about meaning are very experiential, very subjective. And I don't mean subjective in the BS way of, it's whatever you say. What I mean is it's a first-person perspective thing. And first-person perspective things are always difficult to transmit person to person, right? No surprise there. However, let's go to this issue that I have now with this whole follow your passion thing as a means to success. Again, remember, we're talking about success, because when people say, hey, stay on your purpose, alpha male strategies, stay on your purpose, he's talking about attaining success via focus, picking a lane, driving through, being passionate and skilled in a particular arena, and breaking through there. We get what he's saying. And it is about success writ large, besides the other spiritual aspects which we've been discussing, right? The spiritual access, the consciousness aspects, the first person, again, meaning type aspects. But let me say what the problem is with regard to success, okay? When people say follow their passion with regards to success, I might push back this way. I'll say, look, if you pick something and get good at it, and you succeed and you expand and you grow, you can become very proud of what you just did. Right or wrong, Dr. Thunder, right? I don't care if it's a laundromat or it's a car wash, okay? It's a boring job. What you started a car wash business, right? Who's passionate about car washing cars? But you nailed it, okay? And you picked the right location and so on and so forth. Over time, it becomes apparent, right? You grind out through, and then you see, wow, I really nailed that car wash business. You can become proud of it, and proud does, after all, is adjacent to it's in the neighborhood of that passion that we're talking about, right? So I would say, look, perhaps the more, if you're looking at an array, let's say you have 100 opportunities, there's probably 2 that have to do with this pure follow your heart thing. But the other 98, okay, are like starting a car wash. Something that's boring as hell that you don't like, and then you get good at it and you become proud of it. It becomes a passion of yours, and you can use it as a launch pad to the next thing, right? Because we'll get into that whole how thing. But let me play Scott Adams here. Scott Adams is the creator of the Dilbert comic book strip. You remember Dilbert, Dr. Thunder?
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, if there are any super chats, let me know. And that's a way of me telling you that you need to start supplying and plying the super chats, the dollars, the Canadian dollars, or US dollars. We take that. We take crypto as well. We take euros, pounds, all kinds of things. And if you got some strange other things you want to sent to me via other means. We can talk in the back chat. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look here at Scott Adams, the creator of the Dilbert comic strip, and he just has a brief talk here. Remember, I'm saying, hey, go get passionate about something. I mean, or go do something very well, okay? And that's more likely to be the way to success. And then you can follow your other kinds of hobbies, right? You can go buy the violin and play it. You can get a viola and become the next Yo-Yo Ma after you make billions, right? I mean, but maybe you're going to have to make billions from washing cars. So let's see what Scott Adams has to say on this very issue. Fair use.
All right. What do these three people have in common? Richard Branson, Warren Buffett, Mark Zuckerberg, billionaires, right? But like them, I've also been asked, what's your secret for success? Now, what the billionaires say, those three billionaires in particular, when they're asked their secret for success, they say passion. They say you should have passion for what you do. You know, you don't want to work on something you don't have passion. Wait for your passion. But here's what you need to think about that. Try to imagine what else they could have said as an answer to that question without sounding like giant douchebags. Right? They couldn't say, for example, I think I'm smarter than poor people. Even if they are, right? You can't say that. They can't say it's because I worked harder than poor people, because there's a good chance their gardeners are working pretty hard, right? They can't say they were lucky, because then their whole mystique is gone. It's like, well, you know, why should I listen to you? You were just lucky those few times, right? So if it isn't, you know, passion, what is it? I remember when I was working as a commercial lender at a big bank, one of my earliest careers, I had a boss who taught us that if somebody came in and they wanted a loan to start their business, and they had a real passion for it, let's say it's somebody who really likes sports, and they wanted to start a sporting good kind of a business, my boss said, do not give that person a loan, all right? Because they're in it for the wrong reason, all right? They're in it for sort of the fun, the passion. As soon as things get hard, it's not fun anymore. They're going to bail out. We have a long history of these people being bad credit risks. He goes, the one you want is a guy comes in and he says, yeah, here's my spreadsheet. I want to start let's say a dry cleaning store. It's a boring little business. I've looked at the location. It's good. I've managed people like this before. I'm putting my own money into it. I know this kind of business. This guy's a grinder. Passion? Probably none. Dry cleaning? You know, who's passionate about dry cleaning? Probably nobody. That guy gets the loan though, right? Look around even this room, right? Every piece of material in the room, you know, the computers, everything, the carpet, probably represents somebody who got rich. It was either the person who invented it, it might be the CEO of the company that's running it now, but somebody's getting rich on really boring shit. I mean, look at this stuff. You know, somebody made this light, and it's like, hey, this light sells really well. Are you passionate? Well, I'm rich. That feels pretty good. I was talking about this to a friend, and he said, you know, I hear what you're saying. It kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Okay, before we go into what it could be, what his thing is, like if it's not passion, right? What do you do? But he said the one thing I said, which is basically, well, give the market what it wants, and it's not about the passion. And then he said, being rich feels pretty good. That's, you know, go find your, you know. He didn't say that you're going to even be proud of the business. Probably you're not even proud of your car wash, right? But hey, you know, I'd rather be still finding myself with an extra 500 grand, you know, of spending money, of petty cash, right? Than, you know, being broke and still finding myself. So before he goes into the whole thing about what he thinks it is, what do you think about that thing, about that passion is just the BS that these people say? Because what else are they going to say? Because he's thinking that Mark Zuckerberg is probably thinking, it's because I'm smarter than you and because I'm more ruthless and cutthroat and I did what I needed to do to get the business going. That's why I succeeded. But I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, follow your passion. But what do you guys say about that?
Or they could say something like, you know, what you guys know me for, that's actually not what my passion is. My passion is breeding dogs or something, or my passion is chasing the ladies. It could be it could be something else. That could also be the thing that they might seem like they're jerks, is because the way that they made their money, that they ain't even passionate about that. They just found a way to exploit the market.
Okay, so let's see what Mr. Scott Adams is saying here regarding, well, the means, because we're going to get into the means, okay? And I'm going to drop, in case anyone wants to hop in here, because this is something that I say, especially with men, there is something that they titled the whole Jordan Peterson saga, the meaning crisis. So it's still going on, I guess. And the question of purpose and meaning, the question of needing to be useful, is always something closely tied to mental health of men, right? So this topic takes on many, many different dimensions, even though while circling around the question, we've picked success as a, shall we say, guiding star, a lighthouse to kind of look at and see. Now, we're going to get into the hows, and that's what we're getting into now, okay? We're saying, okay, monetize your passions, okay? That's one way. And now we're getting to Scott Adams that says, hey, maybe it's like dry cleaning or some silly thing, okay? Stop with the, okay, I don't think Mark Zuckerberg is passionate about social stuff. He's the most asocial or anti-social. Right? I mean, what did you say?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I was just agreeing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it was. He's like, I had so much passion. I just wanted to connect the people and the smiles that I see every morning. I just want to wake up to the smiles. Nope, that's not. That's not what he's about. So we're going to talk about things such as trial and error, things such as copying other people, and things such as just being kind of intuiting your way through stuff. I'll leave that for last. That's the woo stuff at the end of the day, okay? But there's the trial and error path, okay, of just finding out what the market is, trying to find product market fit, right? There is the copying other people, right? You try to learn how to, maybe you want to learn how to rap, right? And you really like, I don't know, Snoop Dogg, or you want to sing like Nate Dogg. And you kind of start out singing like them. And that's not bad. And then from there, you might find as they say, you find your voice, right? So that's another route. I highly recommend that route, right? Just mimic stuff. Just try what that other person is doing, and see if it works for you. But let me go ahead and continue. Fair use, ladies and gentlemen, and let's see what Scott Adams, again, he's the creator of the Dilbert comic strip.
But, have you ever watched American Idol? He said, the people who win American Idol, look at the passion that those people have. And that had to make a difference because they're going against long odds and a really competitive type of industry. And, passion had to make a difference. And I said to him, do you watch the entire season? Because in the first few shows, they show stadiums full of people who are completely passionate. And you know what all of those stadiums full of passionate people have in common? They all failed. If you're trying to find the correlation, what's the biggest correlation with success? It might be failure, or it might be these people who are passionate. So you might ask yourself if passion is limited, and in my case, I can tell you that I once took I made a list of all the things I'd failed at. Just in the business realm, right? Forget about my personal life, that's a whole much bigger list. But just in the business realm, the things I tried to invest in, businesses I tried to start, I had about 30 failures. These count a couple of corporate careers, a few restaurants I've started, things I tried to invent, startups I've tried before, and they added up. There's about 30 of them. I can tell you that I was passionate at some point with every one of them. because they were a good idea, and I thought, oh, this could work. This would really make a difference. This has changed my life. And then when something goes wrong, or you look into it and you find out the numbers don't work, your passion goes away. Dilbert was one of 30-ish things I've tried. I didn't have especially more passion for it than anything else, but it made me rich. And I got to tell you, I'm pretty excited about it now. And I'm out of time. I would just recommend.
All right. Great speaker, by the way. What you got to say?
So this reminds me. So when I was, this had to be, maybe I was a senior in college, and yeah. So this is my undergrad. So senior, maybe this is 98, somewhere around there, or just before my senior year. And I used to substitute teach because I could substitute teach at the end of the school year for a month and a half. But that got me out to about mid-June, since my school got out at the end of April. But then there was still all of the rest of that summer left. And one time, I decided, hey, let me try to do the sales thing. And so some guy had recruited us to sell knockoff cologne and perfume. So we're sitting in a room, it's like, was it at a hotel? I think it might have been at a hotel. It was like a conference room at a hotel or something. And he's trying to get us all excited and stuff. Who has the most passion? You're not going to sell unless I need to see everyone, with excitement, and I need to see, you need to show me that you want this, all of this kind of stuff. And often I've noticed that this is sort of a tactic that gets used sometimes in churches, or in different different things like that, the social stuff or whatever, and it's like they try to get you excited, and if you don't act excited, if you don't look like you're full of passion and stuff like this, then they'll act like, well, you're not going to get picked. And it's like, but
you're not feeling the Holy Spirit, Dr. Thunder. You gotta feel the Spirit.
but actually what happens is almost nobody gets picked, right? So it's like the thing even too, like you're at a baseball game or something, and they're like telling you, hey, we're gonna throw these t-shirts to the the most passionate audience member or whatever, fan, who's shown that they have the most fan support. And then it's like everybody wants the shirt, everybody's clamoring, but only one person gets the shirt, or maybe they have like 5 or 6 of them out of like 30,000 people that are there. Okay. So that stuff just doesn't matter. That's not a factor at all. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. So let me restate what we're talking about here, and then I'm going to comment on what Scott Adams says along with what you said as well. Okay, this is about being on your purpose. That phrase, okay, made popular recently by Alpha Male Strategies, and everybody says it as a way of trying to focus a young man, typically, to go out there and be successful, is the way that we have is the through line that we have found about what that whole thing is about. Okay, it's about focusing somebody to get successful. And then along with that purpose talk is an idea of, you're going to be passionate about this thing, and you're going to be exceptionally good, perhaps because you are passionate about it. You're going to be proud. You're going to be very successful because it is your purpose. It is your that kind of a thing, right? And we hear this whole passion thing all the time. I have issues with it in terms of, hey, I don't think it's unique in a way that you choosing and then you finding the unique one. I think it's more fate in a certain sense. I think you can only look at the story backwards and say, well, I guess that's how it was destined to go. But but that's maybe just because I'm more of a trial and error in terms of finding passion, trial and error, copying, and then soaking in situations and just soaking in into information, intuiting, just building models, and then all of a sudden seeing an opportunity and just diving right into it. And it's almost like I'm not passionate about it. I'm passionate about finding the opportunity, chasing it. And these opportunities could be in terms of increasing my skills or expanding my capacities in any one of these skills, in the world of business, in the world of engineering, in the world of YouTube, in the world of music, right? Intuiting, watching what's going on, soaking up the information, seeing the opportunities, diving in, right? And I'm passionate about that just the same way that Scott Adams said that, hey, he tried many things, right? He said 30 business failures, not to count the personal failures, right? And that Dilbert was just one of the things. And when he looks back now, he's like, hey, that Dilbert thing, that was great. Okay, it wasn't like all special. I have to do the Dilbert. It's like, no, it was just one of the things that I tried. And I tend to think that this is the way that more things happen in life than people would say. It's not the story that people give when they go to take their awards or something about, I grinded I had this one thing and, for 70 years. Nah, that's not how it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So one thing I think about is, so you don't know what it is that you're doing that will ever be acknowledged. So rather than trying to mastermind the thing or play the politics well enough to be able to, to figure that thing out, why not spend time doing things that that you seem to get a certain sense of fulfillment from, and just put yourself completely into it. And hey, sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't work. But if you're kind of sitting around hoping that stuff works out, or even better yet, we criticize in the manosphere, we criticize frequently the women that say, I'll submit for the right man, right? I'll cooperate for the right man. Well, the thing is you don't know if it's the right person or not. You don't know who you're interacting with that might be the right person. And so really you should be doing things that that you feel good about the way that you pursue them at all times. And then you let the cards fall where they may, and the whole time you were enjoying what it was that you were doing. That doesn't mean that you liked every minute of it. It doesn't mean that you had euphoric titillation, every time. It didn't mean that you were filled with pregnant with meaning, and you couldn't even hardly, you couldn't even hardly fit in your clothes because you were so full. Your heart was so full all the time. It doesn't mean that at all. But at least, you're doing things and you're doing them well.
Let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
A word: leadership. Now, because there is the realm, which we'll get to at the end, of that lone wolf solo guy out there, the shaman, the weirdo out there doing his thing. And he could tell you how he does his thing. But it's interesting, but it's never a recipe or a prescription for general. In other words, that guy does not write constitutions. He does not lead nations, right? He's out there doing his thing, right? He's the mountain man, and he's got his mountain ways, okay? Now, however, though, the most people need the soil, the ground to be tilled for them in order for them to feel meaning and have meaning. In this particular, I'm talking about meaning here, okay? And we're saying meaning is all in the center, so on and so. I'm saying even in this realm of meaning, nope, we still have sheep. And they need to be given meaning. They need to be told that there is a story out there. They need to feel a belonging. As a matter of fact, all of us, insofar as we are social animals, have that. Insofar as we are mammals, as a matter of fact, have that. And what you were talking about earlier, and I want to introduce a term here, it's called extroverted feeling. I'm going ahead and share my screen right here. Basically, it is a term that is a psychological function, a cognitive function, right? Cognitive functions are ways that you process the world, okay? So you can process the world through a feeling in the inside, right? Like a sense of yourself, right? A sense of I, right? That sense of I am Dr. Thunder. That thing gives you information about stuff. That thing gets shall we say, stimulated by, shall we say, stimulus and stimuli. Other things that happen, right? The other thing that we have is what we call extroverted feeling, which is this desire, the vibes that you feel, right? With other people, either positive or negative. The desire to connect, the mirror neurons, right? The empathy, the kind of sympathetic pain that you could feel, or that feeling that you get in your stomach when you see somebody else just got, gutted, disemboweled right in front of you, right there on the pool table.
I feel that in my knees, actually.
So that thing, can I get a 1 in the chat? Okay. So that thing is real, right? So it's not so that let's all go like, in case we were all thinking we were crazy, okay, there is a feeling you feel, something that gets, as I said, stimulated by things that happen to other people and by the presence of other people. It is not magic, it's not woo, it's not vibes, it is real. We have mirror neurons. In the psychological realm, we're talking about what we call extroverted feeling. And this extroverted feeling thing is a tool. It is a way of moving people, shaping them. If you want to use it as a tool, anything can be used as a tool, right? But I'm saying that it is a reality of mammalian existence, right? And It is a powerful tool. So, and the majority of people, the reason why you're like, Dr. Tony, you're like, I don't like this thing. Why are they trying to get me to feel passionate and this and that? Well, trust me, it works for the majority of people.
Yeah.
It may make you feel sad that it does, but that is the truth.
Right. I was having an extroverted feeling about that reality just now.
So when it comes to things such as this, especially when you're going to speak to the masses, if you will, if you're going to broadcast, you can't just narrowcast the information about, well, be this type of person whom can sample information, right? Make models, take opportunities, and do what's needed to be done, okay? And over time, kind of coalesce around a path that leads to success, right? And continue to repeat. It's like, well, yes, there are those people, okay? But for the majority of people, they tend to need to find meaning in groups, meaning in a group identity, meaning in a cause, meaning in, hence the meaning crisis in men is related to that whole, not the West or modernity, not having that community, whether it be in the cul-de-sac in your, shall we say, suburb, or in the whole country at large, where there's that lack of community. Okay, that is another reason why people are not finding their purpose, is what I'm saying. So for people to be talking about, find your purpose, find your purpose, find your purpose, be on your purpose, be on your purpose, it's like, fine for those who hear it. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Okay, I don't agree with it, but I'm doing it. I don't like the way you make it sound because it has nothing to do with that passion and all that crap. But the reality is the majority of people, it's not going to help. What the majority of people need is community. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think it's true. And that's that, I'm an introvert, and I process things differently. and so I can accept that that's true. I see it definitely is true, because as you said, when they try to get people to get super excited to so that they'll be the one that catch the eye of the guy holding the t-shirt launcher at the game. People sure do get wild and crazy. One thing I wanted to point out too. So we're using this word passion, and I was talking about the follow your heart thing, and then I was talking about some of the implications of that. So actually, and this is an early church conception, and you can find a lot of thought and writing on this topic in a collection of writings considered to be sort of a monk's manual. It's called the Philokalia, which is only referenced second to the Bible in the tradition of the church. So the Philokalia, you've got so basically kind of three collections of writings that are highly reverenced. One we call the Bible. The second you call the early church fathers, those writings, and third, probably even par with the early church fathers, is called the Philokalia. But one thing that they talk about in there frequently is about achieving dispassion, right? So now,
some good old stoicism.
Right, exactly. And so the achieving this sense of dispassion where your emotions, your flesh, your frailties, your weaknesses, that they're not controlling your behavior, and certainly also that your okay, so there's this idea of miracles, right? In the there's still some debate on, do miracles still happen? I think that they probably do, but I'm also not looking for miracles, because once you get to a certain point of maturity, you should not require miracles anymore.
Let me say something, and if it's caught, let me see if I can make this make sense. You can never the search for miracles is a never-ending crazy loop. Okay.
Yeah.
It is insane to start to look for miracles. Okay. Do you know why I say that? Adult supervision, Leroy, Aaron B, even complex design here. I'm saying that it is crazy to look for miracles. It is crazy to look for something supernatural, right? Why would I say it's crazy? Because the most miraculous thing itself is existence. The fact that anything exists is trippier than any acid trip that any god ever imagined, okay? The fact that there is nothing that says that anything should exist. What the hell is all this crap anyways? What the hell is it? Space-time, causality, all that crap. It is insane. So then you find yourself in space-time causality, boom. You don't even know where you came from, don't know where you're going, so on. So it's crazy. It's a trip. And you're like, I want a miracle. Okay? Yeah. Now, there's a logical reason also why you would never find it, okay? Because you've given the biggest miracle, but you're always trying to find, because you're always looking for a miracle, trying to find this loop. But when you find a miracle, you're always looking for the bigger miracle. The miracle that undoes that miracle. And then the bigger. That's why there is a logical, argument, syllogisms that can be given to show you why it is a crazy loop. But that picture of just seeing that you're in the universe, which is a pure miracle, and then start looking for miracles, that's already kind of pumps our intuition to know that that's an insane pursuit. I don't know how we got to miracles per se. Go ahead.
Look, the children of Israel, they're receiving manna from heaven every morning. Okay? And they complain. They're witnessing water out of rock, so that they don't die of thirst. And that still was not enough. That's the problem. Is it's a problem of maturity. See, look,
Mm-hmm.
for a kid, you know, for a child, you're going to give them more leeway. But as you start to get older, if you still require the same holding their hand, every time you go across the street, holding their hand, making sure that they're looking both ways, all of that kind of stuff, if they still require all of that, something is wrong. Something is really wrong. And that's what looking for miracles represents.
And in
Like,
this case,
you know-
miracles is kind of
Yeah.
like looking for this passion, excitement, heart bursting with this and that and the other, looking for this zest
Absolutely.
of life. Which, by the way, okay, because here's the trip about this thing. And again, complex design, I'm going to let you hop on. Don't want this to, I gotta do a separate video on my meditation or whatever type stuff. But the idea is, I say, oh well, you're looking for passion, looking for this, looking for that, you will not find it. Where it is though is to just come back down to the miracle land, which is where you are, right? That's all I gotta say about it. Right? If you were just present here, you're not gonna be needing the passion, or whatever. Like, dude, it's like quasars exploding, and
Well,
you
and it
talking
also
to me, and
it also invalidates the moment that you're in, because what you're doing is you are belittling where you're standing, the moment that you're in, wishing for something that's somewhere else. So you're not even taking advantage of where you are and what you're doing. And for those people that are kind of sitting around waiting for their life to begin, and I'll get stuff together, I'll put my real effort in when I find the right thing. For people that are doing that, wake up. This is your life. That's what this is. What do you think is happening right now? If you're sitting around waiting for something to happen, you can't wake up. This is it. This is what it is. So what's happening right now, that is your life. So if you're satisfied with it, great. If you're not satisfied with it, what are you doing to change that?
shout out to Complex Design in the house. What you got for us, sir?
Brother Ike, how you doing, man?
I am doing well. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. I check in and out of the YouTubes nowadays because I'm really busy doing things kind of attached to the subject matter, like purpose, right? I'm a CTO of a tech startup, so I was listening early on. I was making dinner and I was in and out listening in, but I want to just kind of maybe circle back onto the earlier questions that you're proposing with regards to purpose, right? And I think basically, purpose here's how I look at it. Purpose equals like doing the things in life that you wouldn't mind if it stresses the shit out of you, and I'm sorry, let me watch my language. And it causes you to lose sleep at night, right? Like the things that you don't mind having these things do to you, right? Like there's things that people go through where they lose sleep at night and stuff, and they would rather not. And then there's the things that they'll willingly subject themselves to, right? And they don't care because it's something that they have I don't know, it's some sort of attachment or some sort of passion.
Let me ask you this,
right?
Complex.
Yeah.
Would you agree that there are some people who have trouble finding that thing, right? And
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So what do you think? What would be so some may say, well, what is to be done about that person? That person needs sampling, right? In other words, some may say, oh, if you grew up privileged in a family that gave you the samplings of, well, that's a lawyer, that's a doctor, that's this kind of guy, that kind of guy. Oh, I think I want to be like Uncle Vincent. He's the whatever, right? And they have sampling and they figure it out that way. If they don't have sampling that way, how do you do sampling later on? Is this the whole role model, mentor, trial and error, copy? What do you have to say? Because I would guess you're not one of those sample. You probably already found what you're passionate about, right? But how would you advise someone else?
I mean, here's what I find, dude. It's literally the things that, I mean, okay, you can go seek out mentors, right? If that's what's required, right? That are in the venue of what it is that you're passionate about, and then they can kind of like point you in certain directions. Or you can be the self-starter type, right? The self-motivator, like you just kind of say, hey, I'm curious about this. And you start YouTubing some videos and stuff. And then next thing you know, like 3 weeks later, you bought some stuff and you're experimenting, right? And that's the kind of person I am. I'm a self-starter. I'll just get hands-on into stuff, right? But either way, there's a method to pursue it, right? Whether you're the self-starter or you're the person who needs some guidance. Okay. But there is the first part of it all is intent. It's intention, right?
Okay.
It's intention. Okay, because if you have an intention on something, and it's like I said, purpose. I don't really know how to. That's like
let me. I think I like you just said something, and it relates to something that you said. I think that's why you're trying to kind of connect it to now. You just said the intention, and prior to that, you said, hey, you're doing it without carrying the toll that it takes on you. It is something that you're doing regardless. You're taking a beating, but you're doing this. And why are you doing that? And you say it's the intention. And here's what I find, and this is what I want to say, that intention based on a decision is something that comes before. It's a priority to the activity that you're doing.
There you go.
It's like you got to make a decision that and in this case, we're using something called success as a proxy. There's a path that needs to be taken. There is a life that needs to be lived after all, right? And then we say success is the thing. You have to decide to be successful. And all that passion that you use to stay up all night and do all of that kind of stuff is based on the foundational decision that is made. Okay, now Grant Cardone, shout out to him. I like that guy. A lot of people don't like him, but
I have mixed feelings.
You have mixed feelings about him. I like him because he's a rah guy, and I'm a rah guy in a certain in a sense. I like to.
I don't need all that.
It's weird. I like the raw. I like to get all of that God complex going sometimes. I'm like, we'll take it all. 10x on, let's go. Well,
10x, 20x,
20x, 50x, 50 billion. Everybody, you get a billion. You get a billion. You get a billion.
We all get a billion, right?
I love that shit. But anyways, he always talks about making a decision as being the most important thing, because a lot of people are always like, they're on like step 20. I'm like, step 20 is easy. Step 20 is a spreadsheet that says whether you're going to put the money in this bank or that bank. It's like step 1, make a decision. That's the hard one.
Yeah.
And this cuts across many things. That's why many people always ask you, hey, give me the 5 tips to this, the 5 steps to that. It's like, dude, it's not about the 5 steps. If you can find those. Right? You can find those. You can find it in 5 steps. You can find it in 20 steps. You can find it in 5.2 steps. You can find it in letters, Roman numeral.
3 steps sometimes. Yeah. 3.
Whatever you want. It's the decision to do it that is the problem. The question is, why are you not doing it? It's not what are the steps. Don't ask me for steps,
dude. You're waffling. Commitment. Commitment.
I don't need no 12-step program. Just one step. Step to Jesus.
Decision to do it. Yeah.
Just step to Jesus. That's all you need, man. Just step to Jesus.
Step to Jesus.
One step.
One step program.
No, you're absolutely right. That's it. Like, no, seriously, dude, because it all crescendo from there. Once you literally decide to make a decision to do something and you fully commit to it, right? Isn't that where the process begins?
That's right.
100%. So
Yeah.
that is where that is the thing that I okay. So, but I still want to go ahead and say something about the rest of the flock. And it's like it's rather crazy sitting here talking to people and calling some of them sheep while I talk to them.
Oh, shit. Don't do
Inevitably, somebody that is listening to this is going to fall in the sheep category that I'm defining. But these people need a community and they need other things. They're not going to just sit there and decide, dude. Do you agree with this premise that I'm making here? Dr. Thunder said before that he agrees. Complex design, and then we'll go to Wallace. Do you agree on my sheep premise that, hey, the decision is where it's at, but hey, people are not going to make that decision. The majority of them are not going to make that decision.
Yes, I agree with that, and I'll take it one step further. Sometimes I think you and perhaps Dr. Ike and I'm sorry, Dr. Thunder and a few others that are listening in will actually agree with this. Some may consider this a pompous statement. Some may actually consider it arrogant. But sometimes you have to do the thinking for people.
Okay. Wallace. What you got for us today, sir?
Well, as a young ship, my question of this night is basically for Ike and Dr. Thunder. How can we, as like a young man, not only find our purpose, but remain in the purpose? Because it's hard to see the benefits when you are starting the journey, and you have to remain on your path. So I would like to ask if you both have any type of, let's say, advice or shortcut that you somehow use it on your journey that could be helpful for a young guy like me.
That's a very good question.
Okay.
I'll start with this one, then I'll throw Dr. Thunder. Complex, you can hop on,
Okay.
say something as well.
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone else is hearing the scratchy thing or if it's my headphones. It's probably just my earset. So the idea is staying on the purpose, right? Because we've talked about finding the purpose. We've talked about ways of doing it. We've talked about copying. We've talked about, hey, maybe it's a laundromat model where you just try many things, one succeeds. Dilbert is great now because it's the one thing that worked. If Dilbert didn't work, it's like I wasn't really passionate about Dilbert. So says the creator of Dilbert. So we've talked about how to find that, but you're talking about staying on it, which is a slightly different thing. Now, one thing I'm going to mention here is we've talked about extroverted feeling, and I'm not a big extroverted feeling guy, right? So I've said one before that some people are going to need community, okay? But Wallace, I want to talk about more than that. In other words, number one is you're going to need a community to sustain you, okay? I said before that without individuals, things don't change, but without institutions and communities and traditions and so on and so forth, things don't last, right? So insofar as we're talking about lasting, insofar as we're talking about staying power, institutionalization, people, grouping, right? Forming the group, the club of whatever, as they call it today, a mastermind group of people scamming and pyramid scheming each other, whatever it may be, you need that group to go ahead and get started. But then also there is the more close to the vest side. Okay, that's just the group. I want to talk about your mental health. Stoicism needs to be applied in the sense that you have to find the beauty in the blues. Okay, you have to find the beauty in the pessimism. You have to find the beauty in the suffering. You have to find the beauty in the difficulty. Right? Like I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning, for example. Right? And I didn't want to wake up at 3 a.m. As a matter of fact, the plan was to wake up at 1 a.m. because I went to bed at like 8. So I was going to catch 5 hours, right? Wake up at 1 a.m. and start doing some stuff. 1 a.m. hit. I snoozed. I did some stuff. I was struggling, man. When 3 a.m. came up, I was still struggling. But it was beautiful. I cracked a smile. I did the things that I know I needed to do. In other words, I have a system I have a checklist. If you're hydrated and you do certain things, you can kickstart the engine. After all, your body's an engine, right? So I take my 30 minutes where it's like, okay, I'm hydrating now. I do the push-up thing. I do this thing. I'm just going through the process, going through the motions, right? So that is one aspect as well. But you need somebody, besides that community, you need somebody else close to you, depending on how difficult this journey is. The more difficult it is, the more it is better to have somebody that understands you, okay? And I don't just mean anybody. I mean somebody that actually understands you. The higher the level, the more crazy, the more particular, the more unique your journey, your purpose, or your personality is, the rarer that person is to find, right? And at least just one person, and I'm not saying you got to talk to them every day. I'm not saying you, but it's best if there's one. Now, it tends to be the case that people use therapists for this stuff. Now, therapy, I think, is the place you go to BS about yourself until you realize that you're BSing about yourself, right? Again, let me say that. Here's how therapy works. The story about therapy is you go somewhere, you start yapping about yourself until one day you realize, why am I being such a BAN yapping about myself at $150 an hour rate, you know? Maybe I need to get over that. Therapy is where you go and you talk about yourself until you get over yourself, okay? There's no need to ever go there if you are in touch with yourself and also lucky enough to have another one soul that can reflect where you are and actually see you for what you are and who you are, right? That I think is very, very important in taking that toil, in finding the blues in the 3 a.m. toil and smiling while drinking the coffee and one of your eyes is closing. It also helps to have one person there that can relate to that story, with whom you can laugh about it tomorrow. Like, man, I pulled another all-nighter, and you guys both laugh. Does that make sense, Wallace?
Yes, it completely makes sense. Yes. Thank you
All
for
right.
that.
Dr. Thunder, Dr. Thunder, anything to answer his question and then complex design?
Yeah. So I think the answer to an aspect of your question is, I don't know that there is a hack or a shortcut. One thing you should recognize is that aspect that you're referencing, that's hard for everybody. And so when you see folks that have achieved at a certain level, what makes them special, what makes them really stand out, is that they dealt with, that kind of, they stuck in there, they committed, and for long periods of time, they didn't necessarily see results, but they knew that this was something that they wanted to do. They probably had as many doubts as anyone else, but they just kept, they just kept with it, and then eventually things worked out. And sometimes things working out, it's the difference between like some lucky break or whatever whatever else can happen. Sometimes it's just you have to stick around long enough to start seeing the results, but you're not going to know. And since we can't tell the future, you're stuck with just working the system, and do it when you want to do it, when you don't want to do it, and just keep going. There is a practical issue of when it's time to stop doing something. But I think that's I don't know that that's I don't think that's the hardest thing, though. I think the hardest thing is just to stick in there and keep it going. And like I said, that's hard for everybody.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying it's hard for everybody. A key thing to point out, I said earlier, the individual needs to be stoic. One level removed is to perhaps find another individual that can understand you at the level that you're at, can actually see you, so that when you say something to them, you can see the reflection. Because not everybody can talk to everybody else about their experience. Because some people are some people are living in a different universe, literally. Yeah. When you look at the differences in human beings and their capacities, their this and that, so you often wonder, is it the same thing? No diss to somebody with an IQ of 80, but to call them and Einstein the same species, it's like, are they, they're so different, So complex design, the question of staying power, right? You have said that the foundation is the decision. You've made that decision. And we've said that, hey, that decision is going to serve as an engine to give you the staying power. Okay. That has been said so far. Is that it when it comes to staying power with you? Or is there something you would add in answer to Wallace's question?
I would say that I have a completely different mindset. I'm more of a Occam's razor type. The simplest pathway is going to be your most direct method of getting there. So that's why intention is very important, right? Because if it, like, okay, one of the things that I do, I'm a race car driver. I do sim racing. I race cars. Pretty much race anything I can get into, right? And in all aspects of racing, the quickest way around a track is the straightest line you can maneuver. Okay. So that would also align with the concept of being laser focused with your intentions. So I don't like to leave things up to chance. If I'm laser focused, then that means that I've already zeroed in on all the variables and I've already kind of narrowed out a pathway. And I find that when I'm super attentive about what I'm trying to do, I net the best results, right? I don't like to leave things up to chance. I'm not a gambler. I'm an investor, a smart one. I don't like to invest in things. Yeah, but look, everybody has different modalities, right? And this is what I want to kind of present to Wallace here. What you have to do is kind of self-analyze what type of characteristics you possess in terms of are you more of a no sleep type of dude like I am, or are you a sort of I need to do it kind of more it really like again intention, right? Intention is going to precede anything, but you have to know like what your proclivities are, right, to best utilize your intent. And then the
Do
other
you
part
build
to this is
anything? Before we continue on there, do you because you're speaking about the different capacities that one may have. Do you
yeah.
build anything with your hands, or do you find it easy to just get up and do things when it comes to action? Not necessarily maybe thinking or program or planning or having, but just picking up and doing things. Is that something that's easy for you to do?
Yeah, do you know what I do,
Okay,
dude, for a living? I have a tech startup, dude. I'm in micromobility,
yeah,
bro. I'm in IoT and all that
100%.
stuff. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the idea is, for me, for example, I don't have that capacity. Like that's my weakest function. Okay, it's in those function things I was sharing. This one is called extroverted sensing. In other words, for example, my eyesight sucks, which is already kind of gives me a handicap in
So
that
does
regard.
mine, dude.
Okay,
Yeah, but we're in the same boat, bro. We wear
so
glasses too.
but in other regards, my personality is such that dealing with the external world, not really my forte. I'm good with the visions inside the head, and stuff like that. Okay,
Hmm.
so but getting to do things can be hard for me. While
Hmm.
thinking and creating and imagining and freestyling, that's
Yeah,
easy for me, right? But not so easy
yeah.
for some other people, right? So I just wanted to ask you about your. But anyways, you can continue. You wanted to say something else to
No, that's interesting that you say that, dude, because I used to be on that side, like when I used to be in music and everything, like the first industry I was in was music. I did music
mm-hmm,
distribution, manufacturing, and all that stuff, right? I did independent distribution globally, right? That's how I learned about like logistics and supply chains and all that stuff and doing business internationally. But then my career trajectory and all that stuff put me into like heavy industry, steel manufacturing, and all that kind of stuff, right?
mm-hmm.
And it overlapped, and then it became a thing where all of that knowledge combined served what it is that I want to do for my own personal, right, my own purpose, let's so to speak, right, my own company, my own interest. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is how you leverage this is why I'm like, you have to really kind of look at the sum totality of what your skill sets are. And I look, I'm one of those people that's going to say, dude, your purpose is intrinsically tied to what you're passionate about. It really is,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Because I can't not see somebody dedicating their life's works to something that they're not passionate about. It's just it doesn't make sense to me.
Interesting.
Right.
Let me.
Hey, but hey, I'm gonna have to do this, dude. I'm gonna have to jump on a call because it's
Mhm.
8 p. You're on the West Coast, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's about to be early in the morning in China, and that's where I do business. I got a couple calls I got to make, and then I got to do that over there. But dude, I'm gonna make a conscious effort to come through and contribute more to your conversations here, bro.
Definitely. You're always welcome, and thanks for the contribution today. Good luck with that phone call over there.
Oh no, it's all good, man. It's business as usual. You know how it goes.
All right, man. Later.
All right, and
Um,
peace, you guys.
Peace, man.
Mr. CS. Um, is that
Hey,
Jonathan Barronville? Oh,
hey,
go
gentlemen,
ahead.
how you doing tonight?
What's
Doing
happening?
pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. First time joining the panel. Been listening to you for a while on various platforms, Ike and Dr. Thunder. So pleasure to get up here and join you all. I'm out for my evening walk, so pardon the passing background noise. Some cars may be going by here and there, but I hope my audio is all right.
So far, so good.
Awesome. So just some passing thoughts on the conversation, and kind of looking at the title again, I believe it's "What If You Can't Find Your Purpose," if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's the title.
So just some thoughts on the topic, or the whole idea of what I've been listening with the conversation so far. I think we're looking at three maybe primary elements, that being purpose, passion, and success. And to what extent do those three things interact and or stand alone? I think a lot of us are ideally looking to be in a position where all three can kind of cross over. And when I say success, I'm speaking primarily from a monetary standpoint, compensation, and, you know, being able to maintain your functioning in that operation or in that capacity, i.e. the business isn't crashing, you know, you're not losing a form of employment, whatever that may be. But those three things: passion, purpose, and success. Purpose meaning I feel intrinsically this is what I'm on earth to do, whether this is God ordained or this is just, you know, whatever. This is what I'm here for. And passion, I feel strongly about this. This is something that I really, you know, feel, you know, putting my all in all into doing this. And even with that stress element, I don't mind doing it. I think complex design touched on that. I think the issue that I run into, you know, as someone who's in a space where I'm, you know, maybe on the side of being relatively successful from maybe a monetary standpoint, but not feeling fulfilled in my work. And so it's the balancing act of, hey, I'm passionate about, let's say, for example, I'm passionate about urban layout, how we structure cities, how we build cities and structures for the future as we go into this next tech revolution, et cetera, things of that nature. I may be passionate about that, or I could spend hours reading articles and looking at new architectural designs of buildings and new ways of laying out energy systems. However, maybe my skill set doesn't align, or my experience doesn't align with allowing me to employ that passion into something that I can do to gain a living. And I think, you know, taking that example, I'm finding a lot of folks like myself, I'm in my late 20s, and my peers, we've kind of maybe realized a little later that, okay, yeah, I've been doing this the last 5 or 6 years, and I'm kind of hitting an awakening point of, you know what, I've been doing this, but I really like graphic design on t-shirts. But graphic design on t-shirts maybe is only going to get me, you know, 80,000 a year. And right now I'm doing this and I'm making 120,000 a year. So is it worth me leaving, you know? And I know there's always the opportunity. Yeah, you can make a business, you can scale it, and you be the best graphic designer, you know, for t-shirts ever that walk the earth, so you can capture the market. But I guess that's just some of my thoughts on the subject, and would love to hear you all's feedback on it.
100%. I like the fact that you noticed the three words there: the passion, the purpose, and the success. And then you teased out that, you know, purpose has to do with some value that you're pursuing, something you're going to attain, some goal you know, going to achieve, right? While the passion has to do with, you know, that, you know, feeling strongly about it. And you people usually talk about passion related to success because it's going to help you, it's going to drive you there. Now, when you talk about the not being fulfilled with satisfied, and I'm going to let perhaps Wallace, if you had anything to say, and then Dr. Thunder, but not feeling satisfied. Let me ask you, Wallace, is that similar to? Is that something that you can relate to in terms of, oh, I'm satisfied in one area, but I don't feel satisfied with my work. I don't feel particularly passionate about it, but I'm passionate about the bank account, perhaps. But but not so. Because you had asked a question earlier, Wallace, about staying power and finding the purpose in staying. But when it comes also to the question of being satisfied, which goes to the question of staying power, do you have any thoughts on that, Wallace? And then Dr. Thunder, any thoughts about what Sia said?
Well, I have to say, I have to be humble enough to say that it's really nice to have these conversations that I can hear um, both of you that you are sharing the knowledge and also wisdom. And because being humble, I'm not satisfied because I'm a young guy and nowadays I'm 25 years old. I'm going to my last semester, my last year on the university. But basically, I'm a broke guy. I doesn't have anything. I doesn't have a car. I doesn't have a house. I live with my parents. So I'm not satisfied with that because everywhere else that I look, the other guys who didn't choose, let's say, to go to the university, they already have something going for themselves, even if they get, let's say, a medium tier job. But I'm not satisfied because I choose this path of the knowledge, let's say this way. That also doesn't mean that I will get any type of reward, but I choose that path, but yet I can see any type of reward. People say that it's going to be good for me. People say that in the future I will collect the rewards, but right now I can't see nothing. So this is why it's hard to sometimes remain in the path, to remain on your purpose, because sometimes basically you can see anything, and in the end, like I'm a young guy, I would like to be living, let's say, living the life, but I'm not living. I'm literally sacrificing my currently present to maybe have a better future. So this also means that I'm not fully satisfied, and this is the reason that I asked it for, let's say, some directions to be able to remain in that line, to keep grinding, to keep on my purpose. This is the reason that I made the question.
Dr. Thunder, any thoughts?
Yeah. So one distinction I thought that would be valuable to our discussion is the difference between tunnel vision and focus. Tunnel vision and focus. So tunnel vision is it's like you're a horse with blinders on. For an external reason, not due to any self-discipline, any control that you actually have, you are unable to think about anything other than whatever that new thing is. So for instance, I like gear, audio equipment, instruments, technology stuff, gear, and it would be very easy for many hours to be just wiped out without me even being aware. I wouldn't have to eat. I wouldn't have to sleep. I wouldn't have to, maybe I'll just notice, oh man, it's been all day and I haven't even eaten anything yet. Right. So tunnel vision can be very powerful, very, very powerful. And sometimes what people do is they will try to situate themselves in such a way that the external stuff compels them to have this tunnel vision kind of thing. Okay. The danger of that is that you're not in control of that. That can go away at any point in time. All it takes is removing whatever the items were that were causing the tunnel vision in the first place. Or one of those things that is causing tunnel vision, it starts to lose its new car smell. And it becomes a little more mundane and something that you're used to. Okay, that's tunnel vision. Focus, on the other hand, is the ability to remove distractions. Okay, so focus is a discipline. That's something that you can improve at, right? So as a person developing focus, you'll recognize that if there are things that are going on that are distractions, you will look at that and say, okay, that represents a weakness that I have. And so I need to do some things to improve my ability to stay on task, no matter what is going on, no matter what the external forces are. Focus is the ability to remove distractions. Whereas again, tunnel vision is not under your control. It's something that some external force is compelling your sort of allegiance, so to speak, your eyes, your attention. Knowing the difference between those two things is very important. One thing that I'm always concerned about is when people are describing what they say, oh, my passion, this is my passion, this is my passion. And even in a situation where, and this is not to criticize anybody that's been on the panel, but I hear this stuff all the time, I just don't need to sleep with such and such is happening. It doesn't, it's the same thing. It's like it's like having I don't know, it's like the beginning of a new relationship or something with a woman, right? You're thinking about them all the time. You want to be around them all the time and all of this kind of stuff. That's that sort of natural thing. But the thing is that after that initial period wears off, are you still quote unquote passionate about them? And if you're not, then you understand, then that's how you define the word passion.
So, and the question is on the screen there about boredom, and that's what you just described. Okay, so let me put another layer on this boredom question here. And then we'll go to CS to see if there's anything you would like to add or comment on regarding what has been said. And then we'll start wrapping things up here. And on this rather, I think, nice and productive elucidation on this passion topic. So, the question about boredom, there is a frame by frame system that we work in. The frame usually is what is called a motivational frame, where there's a goal that you're after, where the goal may be hungry, get a sandwich. So stomach is telling you get a sandwich. Eyes are telling you stop looking at the screen. Okay? Can I get a one in the chat if we know the get a sandwich frame? There is such a thing as the get a sandwich program, right? And when it starts, okay, the stomach bacteria start telling you what they want. We want 6 cc's of carbs and this and that. The eye says, hey, stop looking at this. And all we see is lettuce and tomatoes or bacon. The feet only want to walk to the fridge, right? And we go and then we do that. And then we satisfy that urge. And then that frame changes. Now there's a next frame, right? So another way that, I think Jordan Peterson likes to talk about, like the fact that there's a frame of sitting in a room in a class listening to somebody, but if a tiger walks in the room, all of a sudden the frame is, these are no longer people, these are obstacles, right? To getting away from the freaking tiger, right? There may be a frame of scratch the itch, but if I put a gun to your head and say, if you scratch that itch, I'll blow your brain out, all of a sudden that frame, now it's the gun frame, right? So we understand this whole frame by frame thing. And if we get the frame by frame thing, then we can understand the boredom thing. Boredom is when you are controlled by your frames, when you fail to recognize that the frames that are going on. So boredom is what you feel in between frames. And the French call it ennui. In other words, there is desire and then there is satisfaction. That's the beginning of the frame is desire, satisfaction. When you get the sandwich, that's the okay. But then sometimes there's this dead period of like, okay, now I ate the sandwich, but I'm bored, right? Does that make sense? Who asked the question? Mark, I believe. Let me get a one in the chat, Mark, if the frame within which I'm going to talk about boredom makes sense. I'm talking about it within the frames, right? And that if in between those frames is where you're going to find that boredom. And the only way to get rid of boredom fundamentally in everything is to master the frames. is to be able to see the sandwich frame operate on you. Notice that your stomach is not telling you to do something. Notice that your eyes are doing something. And be able, as Dr. Thunder said, to see those distractions and set them aside. Because if you get caught in the frame will take you up, take you down, and leave you stranded. And that area of leaving you stranded, that time in between buses, is what we call boredom. Okay, and it's not a good state to be in, because again, I think it's just a symptom. It is a symptom of the fact that you're controlled by your frames. You're controlled by your gut biome. You're controlled by your little head, big head, your heart, your spleen, your back, whatever it is. It's you're playing out their frames, and you're just going frame by frame by frame by frame, and bored in between frames. Hence, go to my meditation playlist, Master Your Subjective Consciousness, which is the way in which you observe the frames happening. And you're no longer controlled by the frames, because now you're watching frames go by, and there's no need to be bored. Anyways, CS is there. Anything that you would like to add, or shall we say, a counter to our counter? Not even a counter, anyways. We're just the interlocution, if you will.
Yeah. So the frame piece you just spoke about, I'll have to try to reconsume and digest. But it definitely makes sense in terms of what you're saying in that regard. And then I believe Dr. Thunder spoke about, added some excellent value in regards to tunnel vision as compared to focus, and the difference between those two items. One thing I'm thinking about is, I mentioned the three tenets, or the three takeaways that I'm kind of leaving or kind of mulling on with this conversation, that being purpose, passion, and then success. I could say from an anecdotal point of view, I'm transitioning to the process of trying to eliminate the passion aspect of things and focusing more on purpose and then success. And again, purpose meaning, what am I actually here on this earth to do? And then success, what's my means of actual survival? So just economic sustenance, being able to provide for myself and or a family. As you were talking, I was thinking about the biblical reference, and I guess even Jesus, to be more exact, where the idea that, there was a mission, there was a purpose, but he also had a underlying foundational trade, a la he was a carpenter. So even in that regard, there was a baseline fundamental skill. This is what I'm going to do, in a sense, for my bread and butter, for my, economic sustenance. Although we know, the story as he goes on, most of us wouldn't think of Jesus necessarily as a carpenter. He's a great teacher, rabbi, religious figure, et cetera, et cetera. He's going on a mission and teaching and healing, et cetera, et cetera. But at a base level, that's maybe where I'm trying to transition my thinking is, I'm in a position where I have a job. I wouldn't even say I have a career. I have a job. It's relatively, like I said, pays relatively well for what I'm doing. It's in a critical space within corporate America, where I'm kind of maintaining some business functions and operations, but I know it isn't my purpose. I know this is not what I'm on earth to do. However, I'm still giving 100% at the role. That's a personal work ethic thing for me. But I don't feel fulfilled in the job. And I know that's not, I don't believe that is my purpose here on the earth. So I'm looking at things from a perspective of, okay, what's a baseline fundamental skill that will allow me to add value to society, allow me to be successful, and then from another standpoint, being able to still pivot and identify and throw myself into my purpose. And I'll conclude it with that.
Very, very nice way to conclude there. Find that baseline, and you call it a skill. Find a baseline skill, and that tends to be my general approach there. So, Wallace and CS, definitely thank you for hopping on. Don't be strangers. Hop back by, as you said, CS. You do listen, and thank you for that. And Wallace, always a pleasure. So, Dr. Thunder, let's start landing the plane, if you will. Okay, we started out with the whole what is passion, why is passion, and then how can one find the passion? What if you don't find it? Is it a unique thing? Is it like a soulmate we said earlier, right? Or is it not so much like a soulmate where there's a one thing? Okay, we brought in Scott Adams to muddy up the water a little bit and tell us, hey, I feel pretty passionate about Dilbert, but that's all in hindsight, bro.
Mhm.
And I tried many, many other things. Whichever one worked, I right now I'll be like, yep, that was a great thing. So there's that aspect as well. I made sure that I broadened the conversation to show that there is a need for community, and many people are going to depend heavily on the community for purpose, directedness, meaning, and so on and so forth. As opposed to those whom, as like Complex Design said, just make a decision, bro. I make a decision, and then I start this startup company, and I make calls to China. It's easy. But we get that that's not going to necessarily be the case. So some people have to go other ways, like mimicry, copying the Joneses, finding good Joneses to copy is in a way the task of most world religions. Hey, here's a good Joneses. Copy this guy. Right? Because it's inevitable that we want to copy something. That whole modeling thing, we want to do it. So have a good model. That is So any final thoughts on this topic here, Dr. Thunder?
Yeah, I think one thing is some of this is sort of first world problems. I think that we can kind of get in our own way because there are so many options, and then also because I think we're kind of constantly marketed to, like, if you aren't enjoying every moment of your life, maybe let's not use that word. If you're not happy with every moment of your life, if you know you don't have it's not a dream come true. If you just you know can't wait to get to work because you're just enjoying it so much, you love it so much, or whatever, all the time. If that's the case, if that's not the case, then something's wrong, right? And you were talking about religion and people copying folks. Well, if you consider the apostles as folks worthy to copy, and Jesus himself as someone worthy to copy, except for one of them that was exiled, they were all martyred. So, and they saw that actually as success. So, and
Careful
the
what you
other
wish
thing
for.
is, yeah, right. And the other thing is, this whole purpose thing. Who's to say that purpose will, you following your purpose means that you're going to become financially independent, or wealthy or something? That you don't know that, and there's nothing. One of the problems I have with the prosperity, gospel stuff is like it factors out huge segments of history, important segments of history in the early church, where everybody was poor, and where people were martyred, people just for saying that they were a follower of Jesus, that they were killed. It factors all of that out. It's like, well, they must not have been doing it right then, because because they weren't driving a Bentley, or something. So yeah, so I think there's different ways to measure success. And if you're one answer I wanted to say to the boredom question is, I mean, I would be quote unquote bored if I didn't have multiple things that I was doing. And I think that sometimes if you're bored, that could be a sign that you have a yet untapped skill, or something you haven't quite developed yet, that is kind of begging to be let out. And so then just kind of exploring that and seeing where that goes. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that somebody thought that their their big thing was going to be one direction and ends up being something else. I interviewed Dave Pirtle on my Conversations with Dr. Thunder series, and we've been friends for years. He is the president of Gemeinhart Musical Instruments. That is the world's largest manufacturer of flutes. And I've been endorsed by that company for some years, and I play their instruments. Wonderful instruments, great company, American-made stuff, Elkhart, Indiana, all of that. And he was telling the story about how, he just started working at Gemeinhart, and he kept thinking that he was going to end up like opening up some kind of car, like some kind of car place where he worked on cars and stuff, because that was kind of like, that was the thing, that he thought he was going to be doing. But he kept spending time and he kept getting promoted in the company, and all this, he's the CEO, he's the president and CEO of this company.
Yeah, I guess
Right?
he
But
got
that was
passionate
not
about
the-
some. Yeah.
But that was not the plan. That was not his plan.
Mhm.
He was thinking something else, but he kept kind of developing and walking in whatever direction. And sometimes your purpose will find you. You don't necessarily have to lead knowing what it is, what's going on, as long as you're doing something with purpose. You can find your purpose. You're not just like, oh, okay, just waffling about, just
Mhm.
oh, I don't know, maybe, hey, let me see where the wind's blowing. If you're if you're heading somewhere and you're doing something with intention, that's when you're going to be more likely to find what your purpose is.
100%. It's like getting in the marketplace, getting in the arena. When you get in the marketplace, you're going to find out product market fit. People are going to tell you what sucks about your pie or what's not. You're going to find out, hey, do I like dogs? Maybe I hate dogs. Pet grooming business. I just like the idea of having a pet grooming business, but I want to kill these little shih tzus. So shout out to CS. I like the trifecta. I think the trifecta will be what we come up with from this particular conversation, which is the trifecta of passion, success, and purpose. In other words, you can have purpose without passion and without success, as a matter of fact, right? And that sometimes passion is good for driving towards a success, but but sometimes it's not going to be there. In other words, like these three things should be looked at as quite separate. And when people talk about purpose, it is not necessarily that they're talking about this spiritual standing for something, or philosophical or value-laden standing for something and pursuing talk. They're typically talking about success. And success has many paths, most of which has little to do with what you want, with what is typically called passion, or even a purpose-driven life, right? So, and just to say one thing, which seems like a non sequitur, but it's a through line through this whole thing, is that life is lived backwards a lot of times, insofar as we're storytelling animals. Our lives are lived backwards. We just don't realize that that's what we're doing. We keep on thinking we're living forward, but we're just constantly retelling the story and repopulating it, shifting things around, bending our memories to suit the story, and so on and so forth. We know this to be the case. We're out there capping, all of us. just know you're doing it. It's no shade, right? Just know you're doing that. Most of your life is lived backwards. It's not forward, okay? So anything to promote, sir, on your channel? Check out Dr. Thunder's channel, Thunder's Thoughts. Any other thing you want to shout out there?
Yeah. Had really good, some good stuff is happening on the channel. Folks are coming, and it's been very productive. I've been very passionate about it. I have a lot of external feelings, no. Anyhow, but but yeah, Thunder's Thoughts, and I've got an episode coming up on Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's with Dr. Doug. I did a show this past Sunday. That was with Dr. Akil Houston, and the topic was, does diversity and inclusion work for Black men? And that was a really good conversation. Very, very interesting. We're both academics. He's a tenured professor at a university in Ohio, and so am I. And this morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I had a conversation with Dr. William Small, and that was called "Is Faith, Family, and Finances the Cure for Red Pill Rage?" That was a very interesting conversation. We got into all kinds of stuff, and I was actually connected to him by the lead attorney. Shout out to him. And tomorrow, let's see here. Tomorrow, I'm interviewing Jermaine Morgan, who's a pretty big YouTuber. He's got about 40,000 subscribers. He's a great musician. I think he lives in Atlanta. Great musician, bass player, and so I'll be interviewing him tomorrow night, and then that interview will air on the premiere video of that will be on my YouTube channel at 10 a.m. on Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. Ike and I will be back next week with another Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. And then also, I'm going to let Ike talk a little bit about this panel show we have that's going to be this Sunday, coming up this coming Sunday. Oh my goodness, it's about to happen. It's about to go down.
It's the last Sunday of the month, which is not
Is
this
it the
one.
last Sunday? What is what?
This
Wait a
is
minute, I
not
thought
going
it
to be
was September 26th.
Oh, is it going to be September 26th? Oh, that is it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming, man. It's
It
about to
came
happen.
around. It's
It's about to
about to
go
happen.
down.
The Pioneer
You've
Show.
been doing too many one night overnighters. You lost track of.
I lost track of time, my man. But the show is called Case Closed, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be me, Ramil Amer, Solo TV84, Trendsetter 84. Okay, check out his channel. He's well known out here if you do not know. And Dr. Thunder and Chantel, Simone, 5 of us, Case Closed every week on Solo TV84's channel, 4 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to pick a case, okay? A particular thing that is going on regarding the state of relationships, the state of black love, maybe politics, business, money, cryptocurrencies, whatever it may be, right? And then we're going to be able to argue it out and have a verdict, if you will. Case closed. We're going to vote on it. We're going to have a good time. Again, Ramil Amer, Solo TV 84, holding it down with Dr. Thunder and myself and Chantel. And Sunday on Solo TV 84's channel, I'm going to be throwing out some flyers. That reminds me, I gotta grab those and send those out to you so we can put it out on the channel. Yes. That's it. Thank you for reminding me that indeed this is the last Sunday. How time flies.
It's coming.
It is coming. And shout out Ghetto Bird Word over Zion. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Thank you very much. You say you appreciate the content and we appreciate the support. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are out. We have gone long in the tooth. I'm gonna have to decide if I'm staying up or if I'm waking up early. Sometimes it's just easier to just stay up than to try to that waking up. You know that wake up, that whole like rolling out of. Oh man, it's horrible.
Yeah, why bother to go to sleep in the first place? Just stay up.
Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna have to stay up. No sleep, no rest for the wicked. We're gone. Peace.
Peace.
in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What a pity, tomorrow never certain. What dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil lurking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble from LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons will breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. Hey, I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest and the righteous in your corners.